Hello, good evening. It is Monday, the 4th of April, and I am still reading After We Fell by Todd. I have now actually reached the 300-page mark, which is chapter 52. Now, I actually ran out of post-its over the weekend, so what I've ended up doing. Sorry, 300-page mark isn't chapter 52, sorry, it's chapter 53. So what I ended up doing was folding the pages. Now, yesterday was Sunday, and one of the rules that I used to have with my family was that Sunday would be classed as a no TV or technology day when we all used to live together. So yesterday I stuck to that rule and I spent the whole day just reading so that I could try and get through a little bit more of this book and hopefully finish this one and the second one. I've got another 2 to read before the end of Lent. And one of the things that I have actually enjoyed about reading this book, as opposed to maybe the other two, is it hasn't just been about Tessa and Hardin. There have been a lot more characters sort of incorporated who've got their own little backstories. So I have enjoyed reading about them as opposed to it just being about Tessa and Hardin's relationship. A lot of the information about how toxic their relationship really is and that they shouldn't really be together has been addressed in every single book that Todd has already wrote and I've already written. So it's in After We Collided, and After We Fell. Again, I've only ever seen the first movie, which was a book called After, which was a film adaptation of the first book. Now, in chapter 52, I did actually fold quite a few pages because it seemed to have key sort of parts to the story in these pages, which kind of explained the relationship between Tessa and Hardin and what their views and perception is on what a relationship should be like and what it should include. So one of the things that actually takes place is previously in the book is that Tessa ends up buying the same dress as this girl Lydia, and they wear it to go out to the same party. And when she finally gets back to the cabin that she's staying in, she's actually taking off the dress and Hardin helps her take it off. And he's noticed that the material of the dress has actually scratched her skin slightly because it's quite coarse, it's quite beaded. And he actually says to her, on page 270, your skin is red, like the dress left these marks on you. He touches a spot under my shoulder blades and pushes the fabric down my back until it hits the floor. It was really uncomfortable, I whine. I can see that. He circles me with hungry eyes. Nothing is supposed to be marking your skin except me. So again, just by saying that line, nothing should be marking your skin except me, it goes back to where he deliberately gives Tessa a love bite, or a hickey if you like to call it them. I don't like that word. To sort of say, you know, she's his and no one else can hurt her, no one else can touch her, but it's okay for me to. So although he's kind of tried to do it in a playful way, again, you can kind of see the control that he has over her and how he's very possessive of things that he believes are his. Again, he's still having nightmares, but instead of it being his mother, who's being assaulted, it's Tessa. So subconsciously, he still hasn't dealt with his past, and it's skewering his ability to deal with his present life situations. So that is actually in chapter, just go back, I believe that's in chapter 50, that quote. Sorry, 49. Yep. And then if we skip a little bit further forward to chapter 52, this is kind of like the journey home. He's very scolding of Tessa. He treats her like she's not just his possession, but like she's a child. And he comments about how she should have brought a new phone because the one she's using doesn't really work. But to her, it's something that's very quite materialistic. I have a phone, why do I need to buy a new one? When, come Monday morning, I'm supposed to be moving to Seattle. And I don't even have anywhere to live, thanks to Hardin telling the estate agent that she was a waste of space and that she trashed his apartment and not to use her as a tenant. So, in chapter 52, it kind of is a bit of a sweet moment in the book, but it's bittersweet. Because Hardin actually says to Tessa whilst they're in the SUV on chapter 288, why don't you use my phone? And she's like, no, I don't want to. I want to use my own sort of attitude. And what he does is he pulls her earbuds out of the phone and plugs it into his. And as she's going through his phone, which there has been an issue in the story previously of each of them invading each other's personal space by reading each other's text messages, by finding out who they've spoken to or contacted. So again, there is no trust in this relationship. Even when they get back to the cabin, they almost have what is called makeup sex because they're both completely hammered. And then he finds in her dress, after she's finally took it off, the phone number of Robert, who was the waiter. And that completely turns him off her. He doesn't want to be with her now that she's kept somebody else's phone number. But what's kind of sweet on chapter 288, sorry, I'm yawning, is, I was just checking I was recording, I apologise, is that she finds on his phone a list of all of her favourite songs on his phone. He even opened the music app for her, and in it there was a long on the screen, and she scrolls through it to find things that are familiar. And a folder named T. And she looks over at Hardin and she's surprised. So when she opens the folder, the music appears to be even songs that I've never mentioned to him, yet he knows that they are ones that she would enjoy listening to. So again, it's kind of like they do know each other, and everyone who's sort of closest to them is saying, you know, yeah, okay, he treats you badly, you treat him badly, but you're really good for each other in the way that they can do these things for each other without any input from anyone else. And they're very sweet, they're very endearing, but yet when they fight, the fights that they have are so vicious, and they are a personal attack on each other. You know, if you're ever gonna like upset somebody, I've had it with people myself in the past, they ream off every single thing that you've done that was wrong. And you think to yourself, hang on a minute, that happened like 6 months ago. Why are you bringing it up now? And I've actually had people do that to me. I've had employers do that to me. I've gone into a meeting and they've gone, oh, we're going to fire you because of something you did 6 months ago. And you're kind of thinking, well, that was 6 months ago. If what I did was so bad, why didn't you fire me 6 months ago? Why did you employ me for another 6 months? And it's kind of the same with Tessa and Hardin's relationship. If he thinks the way she's behaved or the way she's behaving or isn't happy with the way she is around other people, why is he still with her? And vice versa. And then finally, we get to chapter 52. And it is at this point that on page 297, Tessa and Hardin have a huge fight to the point where she leaves the apartment. So they're already back at the apartment after this horrific sort of weekend away, mid-weekend away event. And they've noticed that somebody's been in the apartment. Nothing's been stolen. So Hardin believes it was probably Tessa's dad using it as a bit of a DOS. And again, he says to her, comparing their relationship and the way he is. And he basically says to her, there are no Darcys. There are only Wickhams and Alex de Availables. So wake up and stop expecting me to be some goddamn literary hero. So again, he really kind of lays it into her that, you know, she's not living in a flight of fantasy. This is real life. And if she reckons she's going to end up having some sort of romance or a relationship like she would if she was, say, Elizabeth Bennet in Sense and Sensibility, then she's going to have to start growing up and facing that this isn't going to happen. And again, there's a lot of emphasis sort of in this book and the chapters that I've read about Seattle. Tessa wants to go to Seattle and Hardin does not. And again, she doesn't understand why he doesn't want to go there and why he's kind of punishing her for wanting to fulfill her dreams. So at this sort of point in the book, she's kind of admitting to herself that being with Hardin isn't going to be the best thing for her to do. And she's kind of got to the point now where, you know, she'd rather stay at a hotel or maybe even go back to her mother's house. I don't know if that's what she's going to do, than to stay with him. I finally pick up the pieces of me that he has shattered and pack my bag for the last time. And that is the last sentence in this chapter on page 299. That at this point, she just can't stand to be with him anymore. And that maybe at this point she's thinking to herself, you know what? This relationship is over. I cannot keep doing this back and forth fighting with him and not getting anywhere. It's like this roundabout that they're both on constantly. One moment they love each other, then they hate each other. And I think as a reader as well, you kind of get to the point where you think, for God's sake, you know, just cut to the chase. Are they going to stay together or are they not? Because if it wasn't for the other characters that have been introduced in this book, then I don't think I would have wanted to continue to read it. Because again, there's a lot of alcohol abuse in this book from all characters that are in there. There seems to be a lot of alcohol involved. So again, if this is supposed to be a book aimed at young people, it's basically saying to young people, yay, go out, get hammered, get drunk, you know, and it's not really a positive thing to be doing in any society to write about. I mean, I'm not saying that young people don't go out and get drunk, because we know they do. I know I did it for a little while when I was younger. But to kind of put it in a book to make it more normalised, as if, you know, it's the norm, it's something you should be doing, bearing in mind that none of these characters are actually over the age of 21, apart from obviously the parents. So again, it's very hypocritical how in America they're saying the drinking age is 21, and yet the amount of young people that drink and go to parties and just don't care, you know, I don't see why they just don't lower the age to 18, just like they do in the UK. But that's up to the government, I suppose, not up to me. But I do think it's a bit pointless having 21 as a drinking age in the States, when it's so clear that people are going to be drinking below that age in most societies, if not all. So yeah, I am on page 300 now. I will continue to read the book, and we shall see how things go over the next couple of days. So thank you very much for listening. It's been very much appreciated, and enjoy your evening.